Hi everyone, it's Roger and James here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this week's episode, we're going to be talking all about the second season of Star Wars The Mandalorian, which just returned yesterday. We'll also be talking about the right stuff, and we're also going to be talking about the new Moon Knight Marvel series. But before we get into any of that, if you haven't already done so, make sure you do subscribe either on YouTube or on the audio platforms. We're just about to hit 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, so if you want to subscribe over there, that would be fantastic. Also, just want to make a few shout outs to some of our patrons and YouTube members at the gold members level and above. So Jay, Joshua, also a big thank you to Andrew, Darren, the Juice, Lauren, Mackenzie, What's on Netflix, Jacob, and Joseph for all of your support. And also just want to give a huge big thank you to Sarah for all of your support for the past 2 years. And I just wanted to, again, just thank Sarah again for all of her support. So let's jump into it. So let's start off with a bit of news before we get into the Mandalorian stuff. Because to be honest, there wasn't really a huge amount of news. It's almost as if the biggest thing of the year was arriving and they didn't want to overshadow it and there was enough news. But it was reported by Deadline that Oscar Isaac is in negotiations with Marvel to play Moon Knight for the upcoming Disney Plus series. They've also sorted out an Egyptian director for the series as well. And just as a whole, there's been a lot of excitement over Moon Knight. Now, I'm going to be honest, I have never read a Moon Knight. I think I've played him in some of the video games, and that's about as far as my knowledge goes of him. So, I thought, for me, the casting of basically Poe Dameron, I thought that was rather cool. I thought that was like, oh, he could be good in it. He's a bit older, a bit more rugged, and I think he deserves a good go at Marvel, considering he was in X-Men Apocalypse as Apocalypse and you could barely notice who he was. I think he's a good actor, and I think he deserves another shake at the franchise stick with Disney. And I just think this sounds really cool. What about you?
Yeah, I love Moon Knight. I've been a fan of him since almost as long as I've been reading comics. So I'm super excited to see him popping in, getting his own series. And Oscar Isaac is a great actor. Saw him in Ex Machina back in the day, well before he was Poe Dameron, and of course, Poe Dameron, and as you said, Apocalypse. Although, how could you even tell, honestly? But he also did that Coen Brothers movie, and I'm totally blanking on the name.
God, I haven't watched a Conan Brothers. I remember watching them loads when I was at uni and stuff with Oh Brother Art Thou and was it The Big Lebowski and all those kind of things. And then kind of don't think I've seen something of theirs for like 10-15 years.
Well, No Country for Old Men, which was not the movie Oscar Isaac was in, is in my top 5 favorites of all time. So I have seen some of the more recent stuff. Interestingly enough, I didn't actually like Fargo, even though I really like the show that's on FX. Anyway, now we're totally off. Moon Knight. I'm super excited. He's a great actor. It's an interesting character. It's Batman with multiple personality disorder. There's so many different directions they can take this. Honestly, the one that might be most interesting would be Warren Ellis's take on the character, which is like him dressed up in his tuxedo and then like a mask, and it's super trippy. And they can also go any number of genres with this, because Moon Knight started as a horror character, a lot of psychological horror. But then he became like Marvel's version of Batman for a couple of years there. Then they did a multiple personality thing where instead of his normal personalities, he thought he was Spider-Man, Wolverine, Captain America, and...
Was it like a cabbie and a billionaire playboy, right, and a kind of...
So he's got 3 personalities plus Moon Knight. One was the mercenary, and that's the primary one. That's where the Egyptian angle will come in, because he's a mercenary. And I think at the time it was just an unnamed South African country. Now they've moved it to Egypt, and of course he's connected to the Egyptian god Khonshu. But there was also the cab driver, which was Jake Lockley, and there was Stephen Grant, who is a playboy millionaire. Not at all like, say, someone like Bruce Wayne, perhaps.
Well, I suppose they've got to be careful not to make him too much like Batman, because that would be
too late for that. That ship sailed a long time ago.
Yeah, I suppose, and also they're going to kind of keep it quite simple for us regular folk to work out what's going on. They've got to, if he's got 3 multiple personalities, that probably, when I think of that, I think of like a movie, for example, like was it Split, and because that was an amazing. I really enjoyed that movie. I thought that was, and then we had the follow up because we
don't talk about the follow up.
I didn't mind it actually. I didn't think it was that bad, but
it wasn't that good either.
And technically, it's a Disney movie over here in the UK because it was distributed by Disney. But yeah, I think that could work quite well, and it'd be a bit different. But I thought the casting, personally, I really like his work. So I was like, yeah. And if they're going to set more of it in Egypt, I think that's a good idea of getting an Egyptian. He's done apparently lots of big stuff as well. And I mean, personally, for me, I might actually have quite a rooted kind of connection with Egypt, as far as like my auntie and uncle used to run a business out of Egypt and were living there all the time, and so whenever you go visit, their house was just full of Egyptian artwork, and we always watching documentaries, there'd be magazines around, and I know when I visited Cairo, I was fascinated because of all the stuff that I'd kind of picked up from my auntie and uncle. So Egypt's kind of always Egyptian, so that's kind of, for me, I'm like, oh, I quite like that was like quite a draw for me personally of going, oh, that would be quite fun, and also something different for the Marvel universe. I think that's what we need. We need a little bit of variety with it all.
Yeah, especially when it comes to mythology. The Egyptian mythology has a lot of fascinating stuff and a lot of stuff you can't really use for superheroes, but that didn't stop them from using Norse superheroes either. But normally when we talk mythology, we're talking Greek, Roman, maybe Norse. And this is really one of the only Egyptian characters out there. Even if the character himself isn't Egyptian, he is steeped in Egyptian lore, and that's one of the angles they could take with it. And obviously, if they're planning on having an Egyptian director and doing a lot of shooting in Egypt, then we can expect a lot of iconography from that kind of mythological background.
I think I just really I'm just excited about, again, and for me, almost like learning about a new Marvel character. This is the kind of thing, if we don't get that so often anymore. And while obviously I can read the comic books and all the rest of it, it's like when it's on the screen, it's a different kind of thing, and it goes to a different kind of audience. And yeah, I'm just kind of really interested. And I just think the casting is a cool idea, and I'm really, really into like what they're doing with it.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. And going back to like the multiple personality thing, if they had done this as a movie, I would have said leave that out of it. That it's too much. You don't have enough room. But them doing this as a Disney Plus or a TV series or however it's going to end up in, they've got enough room to let it breathe and really go trippy with it, which is the right way to do Moon Knight. I mean, you can do him as a Batman, you can do him as a straight superhero, but what sets him apart is he really screws with your head. Not him, the stories around him screw with your head. He's actually, other than being endowed by Khonshu, he's actually a normal person.
Yeah. So does he have superpowers on?
He has, like regenerative abilities thanks to Khonshu, maybe some supernatural awareness. Yeah. But otherwise, he's like Batman in that regard. Right. He's got lots of cool gadgets. He's got a military background. He was a mercenary. But otherwise, nothing really sets him apart.
Okay, cool. That's cool. Yeah, like I said, I'm really looking forward to seeing where they go with that one there. Apparently, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier's kind of finished up filming now, and there's been a few more toy leaks, but hopefully we'll find out soon enough for that. And hopefully as well, we've kind of got probably tomorrow will be when we see the new what's coming in November video, and I'm hoping for a few extra surprises in there. The big question is going to be, is WandaVision going to be the next big kind of reveal, or are they going to hold off with the Mandalorian this weekend of trying to keep the momentum going on from there? So that's the only thing. My little puppy there making a little bit of and now she's starting to bite my feet. Go on, back in.
Needs to make sure that you know that she's there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know she's there. She's made me aware of that for the last 4 hours.
The rest of us too.
For that note there, so also Disney added a brand new option to the app this week where you can now click a little icon and it will then share straight to, you can send it through like Messenger, Twitter, Facebook, or anything like that. It's basically just a link to the what you're watching, so you can send it to someone, a friend, go, oh, I'm watching this. It's kind of like, it's quite a cool idea. It's nice. It's an easy way. I can imagine it's that kind of thing of like, if I was like, oh, okay, Dad, here's a link. I mean, it's good, but it's not really going to work if he's watching it on this big TV. I mean, it'll be like, okay, that's kind of a cool feature to have in there. but I don't know how many people use it. But they got to watch how many icons they have alongside the films soon, because we've moved up quite a few already.
Yeah, and I can see why they'd want to do this, because you're going to get a lot more engagement if you say, go watch The Mandalorian, here's the link for the first episode, as opposed to just going, go watch The Mandalorian, it's on Disney Plus, because they'll forget about it. They'll, move on to something else. They're like, oh, I'm going to turn on Netflix tonight. I'm not going to do The Mandalorian. But if the link's right there, then it's in their browser. It's harder to ignore, harder to forget, and it's more at the front of their mind. But again, as you mentioned, if they primarily watch on a TV, either through an Xbox or a PlayStation or a Chromecast or something like that, it's not going to make too much of a difference in that regard.
No, again, nice little feature, but kind of one of those things of it's nice to have these little features behind. You can tell that Disney are just continuing to keep doing stuff. There's a lot more stuff they need to do to the app, no doubt about it, but just nice to see them doing stuff like this.
On that thought, I noticed several this weekend or this past week where I ended up rewatching part of The Mandalorian season 1, and because I normally ended the episode right around the time the credits start, it actually restarted me at the credits rather than being like, oh, you want to watch it again, even though it's been a year. Here, watch the credits. I'm like, no. And my would you like to finish watching menu is just getting longer and longer and longer, because I always shut off before it registers as done, even though I'm at the credits.
Well, the thing is, especially with those credits being so long with all the international bits tapped on the end, they need to kind of work out a way of doing that. I'll be honest, I never really pay much attention, because I usually only ever go into Disney Plus and tend to generally just start watching something new. I don't tend to
You're right.
back. Yeah.
This is the first time I've encountered it where I've actually been like, I want to watch this. No, start me at the beginning. And generally I ignore the continue tab. Just it like, I'm so used to just skipping right past it. New to Disney Plus, and can you skip that one? Oh, because you watched blank, etc.
Because it's funny, really, because normally I think like shows like Once Upon a Time and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they don't have those big long credits. They just roll straight into it. So that kind of works a lot better from that point of view. But yeah, so that's kind of, to be honest, the majority of the like I said, it's been with The Mandalorian, there's been lots of merchandise announced. There's been a special portrait gallery they showed off in London. Lots of promotion of The Mandalorian. So let's jump into what we've been watching and do a bit of reviews. So first off, let's talk about Mandalorian Season 2, Episode 1. Now, to be honest, I think we are going to have to do spoilers, because there's a couple of key things. If you haven't seen it, I mean, the things we're going to be talking about for this and the right stuff are basically based on if you've watched the episode. So we'll try and keep spoiler light, but it's like there's only really maybe one. I don't know. It's almost a kind of thing like, there's a spoiler at the end, but that's kind of about it. There's not really a huge amount in there.
Yeah, and we will we'll skip the spoiler at the end. We'll talk about that one next week, presumably when we have more information about it. It's not same tier as Baby Yoda, which we were expecting. We were not expecting a Baby Yoda version 2. But we'll talk about that next week. The rest we'll talk about now.
Yeah, so what did you think of that first episode then?
I loved it. I mean, this was what I wanted. It's been a year since we've had The Mandalorian, and sure, they did not really advance the primary story. We didn't get anything with Moff Gideon or anything like that. But man, that was just a really fun episode.
It was for me of like, it fired up, and then suddenly then it's like, this is great. This is exactly what you want. Just a straight up, hour-long Star Wars escapade, full of favorites, full of action, not really pushing the story forward, but which is kind of good and bad. And I just got to the end of it. I was like, throughout, was just on it, watching it, enjoying it, probably full of big smile, and just got to the end of it and went, oh, that was just good, solid Star Wars fun. And that's kind of the nice thing about it, really. It was just like, I'm thinking, we get this for the next 8 weeks. We get every Friday morning before work, I'm going to be watching this, and really just love. it was like back in this like that territory of like, oh yeah, this it reminds me of like last year. Then yeah, this is good stuff. This is what we've been waiting for. I love the story. I love the fact that it was a bit longer. It was definitely a western. I mean, this was about as western as you could get. Him even riding into town on the bike, and all the locals and stuff, and meeting the sheriff and teaming up with the sheriff. I mean, this was full blown. Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was great.
And not just riding into town, but finding the people who are in opposition to the town, or the restless natives, and having to team up the town with the restless natives to deal with the threat. Yeah, this they're continuing the let's draw from the classic Western tropes. I mean, that was big in season 1. It's obviously going to be big here in season 2 as well.
And it's funny because I don't really consider myself a Western fan. I don't. I mean, I've seen a few things here and there, but I wouldn't consider. And it's funny because I saw a few people saying about how, oh, well, you know, it's a bit, you know, like say it's Western. I've seen all this before. It's like, and I'm there going, it felt quite fresh because you don't see that very often anymore. So it's like, okay, I enjoyed that aspect, and also I think because it's set on Tatooine, it kind of changed that whole mindset in my mind. I go, no, we're in Star Wars, we're in Tatooine, you know, and that's what I just loved. And I mean, I didn't realize, and this is something that when I was watching it, but the dragon was actually in the original New Hope was the skeleton of the dragon when the droids are walking by. I hadn't put that 2 and 2 together until someone pointed it out, and I'm like, oh, that's even more interesting because I was like, this is a big dragon, and I kind of I mean, I thought the special effect. I mean, I thought we were watching a movie at that point. You know, that could have been easily a movie level quality. I thought for that.
Oh yeah, the dragon looked fantastic. Yeah, and I knew immediately it was a Krayt dragon, which isn't just the skeleton; it's also the sound that Obi-Wan makes to scare off the Tusken Raiders in A New Hope as well.
Right, yeah. I just really liked as well. I think having the Tusken Raiders in it so much and being, you know, I think that helped really connect it because. The planet they were on in the first season always kind of looked like a Tatooine anyway. It was very, very. It's like you might as well just put it on Tatooine anyway and connect it up. And I like the fact that they did. You know, they dropped in references to Mos Eisley and looks like, well, we're not going to go there. We'll go to a different town. So you have the whole planet. You can go find another little village. And as well, like when he was driving in, because being the sad person I am, plays the Star Wars Legion tabletop game. I was playing that the other day. You know, we've got all the little 3D models of the Mos Eisley town and the little generators, and it was like, oh yeah, it just felt instantly just like, oh yeah, we're in Star Wars territory. You know, and again, I love the fact that we probably saw more of Tusken Raiders in this one episode than we have in all of the Star Wars movies combined.
Absolutely, because they're only in episode 4 and episode 2. Maybe that briefly seen in episode 1.
Well, I was just going to say because, but yeah, like you said, I just really enjoyed how they interconnected all of that into it, and kind of expanded on them and that kind of thing. And going, you know, they are, and you know, the Jawas as well. You know, we got them included in there, and yeah, it just the references. There was lots more little ones. Obviously, the big one obviously is Boba Fett. And there's no denying the fact that when the sheriff walks in with the Boba Fett outfit on, you know instantly it's not him. He looks way too skinny to be in the
the upper body. You're just like, wow, you lost a lot of weight, Fett. And clearly it wasn't. But even just seeing the armor again in that context, just at all, was great. Or you're just like, this is so cool. We know it's not him, but it still brings on those feelings. So there was that. There were other little bits and pieces throughout the episode, as we saw in season 1. There's always little tiny things where if you're not familiar with them, you miss them, but you don't know that you missed them, and that's always important. It's really annoying when you watch something and you're going, "There's a reference here. I don't know what the reference is, but I don't get it because I'm not part of the in group." That's always annoying. And this, I think, manages to avoid that, because there are plenty of things like you were talking about with the tabletop where, oh, the generators look like this because that's how we've done them that way, and you know, the armor looks like this, and there's the dent in the helmet and things like that. But if you don't know to look for those things, you don't even notice them, and you just like, oh no, that's Boba Fett's armor. That's all I care about.
Yeah, and I just love the whole thing of him, and I think the thing of them when they were teaming up to take on the dragon, flying around. I thought that was so cool, and it was almost that kind of, I'll be honest, the kind of thing of the Mando and Boba Fett teaming up. That was the kind of, I know it wasn't Boba Fett, but because obviously he had the helmet on and all the rest of it, it just kind of had that feeling of what we've seen, with them all over time of having that aspect, and I really enjoyed that, and it was just fun. They just, instantly that Mando kind of felt, they were both good guys. They weren't, even their African argument at the beginning was very kind of like, I'll skin you. Well, can you just give me a minute? I need to investigate what's outside, kind of thing. Of, they weren't kind of straight up, and I like that, and I thought that worked really well.
Yeah, and I also appreciated that they had Timothy Oliphant in there as the marshal. I loved seeing him in Deadwood back in the day. I need to sit down and watch Justified at some point because I've heard that's very good.
Yeah, see, I wasn't really too familiar with who he was. I think I saw him last in some diet show. On Netflix or something.
Oh, that's right. He was in the Santa Clara, the one with
that's
Drew
it.
Barrymore.
Yeah, so,
was it?
Yeah, I only watched a couple episodes, so I don't think I watched Deadwood, so I didn't really have that whole connection. I just thought he was just rather cool, and I just like that whole aspect really, and it was just a lot of fun. I also
he was in one of the diehards as well.
Yeah, I mean,
sorry, that was totally out of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, maybe probably the last one if he was, but yeah, it was quite a. Oh, my puppy is now attacking my display unit.
Oh, he's in the current season of Fargo, actually. Okay. Well, I have not started season 4 of Fargo, but he's in the current season of Fargo as well.
Yeah, and I think just as a whole, I do think that was. I think that was a good casting. I don't know whether or not we'll see him again. I mean, they kind of left it wide open for them to kind of team up again, and I think that's always a good thing for them to do. We saw that. I hope they don't do that in this season again, where we kind of at the end he goes in and rounds up everyone that he's met during it, because it's like you did that in the first episode. Don't in the first season.
I suspect we're going that route because he said. Mando, did the may our paths cross again thing. That's almost exactly what he said to Cara Dune in episode 3 of season 1. Maybe episode 4, whatever. The first episode we see Cara Dune, and then of course you get to the end of the season, like, hey, you remember me? When do we do that team up thing? I suspect that we're going for that again here.
I enjoyed this fact as well of leaving. Obviously, we left Cara Dune and we've left all that upside, and it was just kind of them two back. I also enjoyed the fact that Baby Yoda wasn't a big thing in this episode. It was about Mando, and I think because I kind of got a little bit of Baby Yoda kind of took the Mandalorian, which is kind of what you didn't want. You wanted more Mandalorian rather than. I know Baby Yoda's cute and they do all the pictures, but you kind of want to learn more about the Mando than Baby Yoda.
I was definitely worried that the Krayt Dragon fight was going to revolve around Baby Yoda pulling out a Force Deus Ex Machina device, kind of like he did against the horned beast back in the first season. And I'm very glad that in the end he didn't have anything to do with the fight at all. No. I don't think he manipulated at all. It all came down to fake Boba Fett and Mando just outsmarting the dragon in the end.
Yeah, and I kind of like that. I like the fact of giving them a bit of room, giving them Baby Yoda is needed a little bit, have a little bit of a nap. But obviously where it's going to go forward, I mean, it definitely set it up with Boba Fett. Obviously at the end, we see the clip of him standing there overlooking. Now the thing is we're all there going, that's Boba Fett, because it makes sense, because obviously he's riding off to the sunset, he's got the gear, and he stands there, and it's instantly, and the thing is, it's like, yeah, if you really, because I'm sure there'll be some people going, he's a clone trooper, or why is Captain Rex Jango Fett in it? Because if you've maybe not connected the dots and that thing of that that Boba Fett is a clone of Jango Fett, or an unaltered clone, then you maybe would miss that, because I don't know. But obviously that's really much in for the Star Wars nerds like me that's gonna instantly know that.
That one I'm not really sure about, because it is explicitly mentioned in Attack of the Clones. Yeah. I wanted a clone that is going to age normal rate and is basically me. I am going to be my own father kind of figure. So it's not like it's obscure in some book or you had to read some comic series to get it. It is in the movie, but also it's probably been a long time since people have watched Attack of the Clone and things like that. So it can go either way on that one.
Yeah, and I just like that whole thing of like his outfit. Was that because he lost it in the Sarlacc pit? Did he quit? Did he give up the Mandalorian life? I don't know. I was just instantly like, oh, okay, that's good for him to be. I mean, the great thing with him is he's kind of essentially the actor can appear in as many times as he likes because he's got an infinite amount of characters he can play, because essentially every clone trooper is him. And it's just like, yeah, he can play Ray, he can play, Captain Cody, he can play as many characters as he wants because they're just clones of him. So, I mean, he looked pretty battle scarred, and yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes, because you got to think like, Boba Fett has never really been set up as a good guy. He's always been kind of the mercenary villain. I can't see it ending in a great way, but yeah, I'm obviously that just set it straight up into like, okay, we're really leaning in on the proper Star Wars, because the first season didn't really do that so much. I mean, I think we had more references to the original movies in this episode than I think we had the whole of the first season.
Well, I mean, the entire thing takes place on Tatooine. It basically might as well just be slotted in right to the first movie. All of that. I mean, obviously several years later, but the environment's the same. A lot of the characters are references. All the weapons they're using are like the frontier style weapons. Luke had that really long rifle that he was using in the first, and all the home settlers have that, and the Tusken Raiders have that.
Even just like the fact that the sheriff's or marshal's vehicle looked like a pod racer, that kind of thing.
Not just a pod racer. That engine looked like it was Anakin's engine. I don't know if it was just the same type or if they were legitimately going for, he salvaged this from like the old pod races and Anakin's was there. But I'm pretty sure that engine was the same model that Anakin was using way back in the first one.
Yeah, I thought that was cool. Also, just little things like that, which I thought worked very well. I also love the fact that they were in the bar and watching on the TV when the Death Star 2 blew up, and like the instant power vacuum. No, those miners were really quick. I mean, they didn't take more than 5 seconds to go, right, Empire's gone, we're going.
There's a lot of potential in that story. Not necessarily that one specifically. I think that story is over, but this is something that Disney really has not examined at all, because we don't have stories between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens of what happens when you suddenly remove the biggest power in the galaxy in one fell swoop. And you have to assume that this kind of thing happened like everywhere. And there's a lot of potential for interesting stories there. We get a glimpse of it here. And it really we only get a tiny bit, because it's just enough to go, this is why I got the armor. This is, what I did with it. And this is why the town respects me. But they can do a lot with this.
I mean, overall, I just that episode ended and it was just like, yeah, cool. Big grin, it's like, I really loved it. Just like, no point in sugarcoating. It was like, yeah, fantastic. Give me more. I mean, it felt that kind of feeling. I get new Star Wars every Friday morning. Like, we would go decades without, and I think there's still that part of us, obviously, we had that whole gap between Return of the Jedi and then the Phantom Menace, and then we had a massive gap then between the movie then on to the new trilogy. So I'm used to having those 10-year gaps, and suddenly then having new stuff every week is so nice and refreshing.
And we did have that time period where Clone Wars was actually coming out weekly. We had the Rebels. We even had Resistance. Amazingly how fast we forgot about that show. But this is different. I mean, Clone Wars and Rebels and Resistance were all very clearly meant for the Saturday morning cartoon crowd. Nothing wrong with that. I've got tons of nostalgia of waking up early and watching like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and G.I. Joe back in the day. And love having that too. But Mandalorian is premium content. It's proper. Proper is a good way of putting it. It's premium content that is for us. It's fine for kids too, obviously, but it is for us adults. And I think you described in the written review on the site, like that Saturday morning, wake up and go check it out. And that's exactly what it was like. Too bad I have to go straight to work on Friday morning.
Yeah, it's funny because I got home last night and I just got out the thing and this guy walked past that lives near me and he said, "Have you watched The Mandalorian?" I was like, "I'm gonna watch it when I finish work." I'm like, "I've already watched it this morning." We're having this conversation. It's like, it's like already like you just got out the car. People are already thinking like, well, people know.
I feel bad for my coworker who wants to hold out and watch the whole thing after the entire season is done, and like, there's no way. Everyone knows you
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah, it's a little bit. It's like this is where the weekly thing really helps. I think the series because it's going to keep that momentum going right through till December of this like Star Wars buzz, and I really like the weekly thing because it keeps us all on pace. And right now, everyone on the planet can only keep up with that pace. Now, there's been a bit of discussion about the fact of it dropping at the time it does in America, and spoilers getting out on the internet. But you're going to have that no matter what time you put it out. Whatever time you put it out, if you put it out, in some ways as well, Disney are safer putting it out in the middle of the night in the US time, so it doesn't, load out the servers and all the rest of it, and it gives people a chance to kind of catch up on it. But yeah, it's like, obviously for us, it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. In Australia, it's 6 o'clock at night, and there's all these different things of trying to get it all in. And I like the weekly thing. I like it keeps us all on the same pace. I didn't like that with like Daredevil and with the Defenders when everyone was all over the place. So I really like this, and I like the fact that the conversation can keep going. And as far as spoilers go, I mean, like some people go, "Oh, I should have at least a week or at least a weekend or the 2 weeks." It's like you can't stop the internet. You need to. It's like I know it's annoying, but you can't stop that, and it is frustrating. But the only thing you can do is if you really want to avoid spoilers till you watched it, is you just got to stay off social media. And I know that's a pain now. I mean, it's like for me, luckily for us, it launches. I mean, it was 7 o'clock yesterday because of the time difference, but it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. So it's like I can watch it before, and then as soon as it drops, and I can catch up with it, and so I don't catch any spoilers because nothing's out yet, and I stay off social media until out. But there is that kind of weird thing of like, there's not really a good time for them to put it up. No matter what time they put it up for, there's always going to be someone that's not going to like it.
Yeah, and to be honest, here in the States, we are so often the guys who get it first and spoil it for everyone else. We can handle it for some show dropping elsewhere before us.
Well, I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of people like us where we get up in the morning on Fridays and watch it. You get up that half an hour early because you want to watch it, and you want to not, maybe you get up and you go, "Well, I'm not watching the spoilers." I know like the things are like coming together and watch, but I think if you're going to be doing that, then it's just a different thing. But I really just like everyone being on the same pace and everyone being able to catch up. And I mean, it's like even the spoilers and stuff like Boba Fett. I mean, we've known Boba Fett and the actor was going to be in it for months. These aren't, I knew that 3 months ago that he was going to be in it. We just didn't know how he was going to be in it. But so there we go. That was The Mandalorian. So again, I think we can't really say enough. We really enjoyed that one. So also we had a new episode of The Right Stuff. Did you catch that one this week?
Of course.
Again, another really good episode. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying this series. Again, it's that kind of thing of you're able to watch a proper TV series that you're liking, and I'm just enjoying them investigating the characters, showing their weak points, showing their strengths. Glenn kind of not necessarily using Shepard's discretions against him, because I don't really think I know he was obviously trying to brown nose up to the Chiefs and stuff, but he knows, him having that big conversation with everyone and bringing them all together, going, "Would you guys pack it in so we can get into space?" And it's almost that kind of thing. Like I could completely relate to him doing that, and kind of it's kind of like, would you guys just pack it in? Otherwise, we're not going to get to go, and you're going to ruin it for all of us, and you're going to ruin it for me. And I thought that was like, because that would have been me. That would have been like, would you guys pack it in? Because you ruin it.
Yeah, that was definitely a big issue in the early part of the space program. Was you've got guys who are going from basic obscurity to on the front of Time magazine, and it absolutely went to their heads, especially guys who were already pretty much playboys to begin with. So there were some interesting days at the beginning of the Mercury program, and this kind of confrontation, I don't know if it happened the way portrayed here, or this is highly dramatic, made interesting for television. But
I love the fact as well, like, he even ordered cheeseburgers for them all. You know,
it's such a Glenn thing.
And it was like, well, like, I thought, I thought, wouldn't want someone to eat, and it was just like something like that. I'm like, he's. Oh, I just like kind of think, well, and it's like the thing of going to the PR person. He didn't go straight to them. He did try and sort it himself, but he reached an impasse where he couldn't go any, and then he went to the PR guy for help. And I don't think because he didn't really push that across, that's what he did.
Right. That was definitely
Alan went straight to the, because it was like, well, actually, no, he did that last. That was the last thing he did when he couldn't get hold of anyone. He did try, and I thought, he didn't really help portray that to Shepard much, because obviously, I mean, he's I really like, it's like one minute I like him, and then the next minute, like, no, I don't really like it.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, every report I've ever heard of Alan Shepard ever is that he was a colossal jerk. And I'm being polite in my phrasing, because I've heard much worse phrasing than that. And I suspect that in that scene too, assuming that this is historically accurate, and I actually don't know how historically accurate this one is, you get the impression that Shepard is projecting a lot in that scene. Like it's one of those situations that you hear about, like, his line of thought is everybody is out for themselves. Everything that everyone does is to be number one and to be the first. And he's just assuming that Glenn is the same. Now, that's not to say Glenn is not ambitious. Glenn is absolutely 100% ambitious, but he doesn't do underhanded things. And Shepard's like, well, this is how I would do it, so that's how Glenn did it.
Yeah.
But I'm with you on the same, at least the way it's portrayed. Contacting the PR guy was a final last ditch. I have to get something. Because he absolutely tried to go through the normal channels and keep it under the radar and be like, I don't want anyone at NASA to find out about this. I don't want anyone who could impact the program. And he finally had to. But like you said, he did not get that to Glenn. Everybody, to Shepard, and then of course everyone else was just like, Shepard. Yeah, we're with Shepard on this. Glenn, you're a little bit of a brown-nosing goody two-shoes, so we definitely see this as an ambitious power play. That entire sequence was just really infuriating, but really well done.
It again is, I think, from my point of view, especially right now, we've not got a huge amount of stuff to watch because obviously everything's slowed down, and I'm just enjoying the fact of having a story that I've not seen or something fresh. It feels fresh, and I think that's the key thing for me right now. I don't know. I'm avoiding watching bits and pieces and stuff. It's to kind of find out what's happening and stuff, so on. And I'm really just like enjoying the aspect of having a new story, something I've not known about before. And I've always loved NASA and all the rest of it, but it's such a interesting story for me, and I'm really, it's just like at the minute I'm going, wow, Friday's great. I got Mandalorian in the morning and Right Stuff in the evening. It's just high quality television right now.
Absolutely. And speaking of new stories, we did get the start of the Mercury 13 story here, which is
I was going to mention that.
So I don't know how much we want to go into that, because obviously it's a storyline. I expect that we'll cover it a bit more in the next couple episodes. They really didn't do very much in this. They just set it up and they introduced the key character, which is Jerry Cobb. I mean, I can tell you how this is going to go, and it's a fascinating story. So I hope they go into depth with it. But I'll let the show.
Well, I know in the original press release they had stated that the second season was going to do this, so they've already like setting this up. So well, even I've having only heard the press release was going, oh, I see where they're going with this. I'm like, this could be even more fun. I'm just like, especially with them all being, sort of that whole era of it being so different to now. I was just like, this is just, I'm really interested to see where they go with this. And I could instantly see where they were setting up like season 2 or season 3. And I would say, bring it on. This is exactly what we want.
Yeah, they're definitely setting that up. They'll talk about the Mercury 13. Sorry, we'll talk about them after the final episode airs and see what they reveal here, and then we can talk a little more about that.
Well, the thing is, I mean, purely as my like dumb mind, I'm thinking, well, we're still going to do the, it's like, was there anyone in between? But you kind of think along the lines of, I think just how they've done it. I'm really, really hoping that we'll get to see. Hopefully the numbers for Disney Plus, because I mean, they kind of has already said they are planning season 2. I'm hoping that they kind of announce that soon enough to kind of do it, because I'm just hoping people are watching the right stuff so we get more of it. And I'm gonna just keep watch it because I want to watch some more of this.
I can't be objective about this. I think everyone knows where I stand on it. I was already on the everybody should watch this, but that's because I find this absolutely fascinating. I really hope we get a season 2, a season 3. We go into the Gemini project, the Apollo project. And I was thinking about this week. What I would really love is to see the Russian side of things, because we have almost no media about the Russian space program at all on this side. I think there was a movie a couple years ago which was about their version of Apollo 13. I think it was Salyut 7. I might be wrong about that. But aside from that, we've got nothing. We have no equivalent of the Vostok program. We've got nothing on anything after that.
Because
I would love to see that.
I would like to see that too, especially because did you watch Chernobyl in the end?
Oh yeah, I watched Chernobyl last
because week. Chernobyl kind of had that whole like Russian what was going on in the Kremlin and everything, and I really enjoyed. I love that series. I thought that was amazing. So it would be kind of interesting to see where they could go with that one there. But just think as a whole, right now we are really being spoiled, and I know it's like people kind of saying, well, of like watching these 2 series, it's absolutely blowing a hoolie out there. It's
I'm sorry, what? Blowing a hoolie? I'm sorry, I've never heard that phrase before.
That's the Scottish genes coming out there. It's blowing a hoolie.
Right. I'll have to ask my sister about that.
Yeah, literally the rain is bouncing off the window because it's that much. It's that wet out there.
All right. Anyway,
Anywho, moving on from there. It's. I'm just really enjoying all of this stuff right now, and I would really recommend the right stuff to it. Are you watching anything else on Disney Plus this past week?
I watched the first couple episodes of Owl House, but this was a rewatch. I saw them back when they first aired on the Disney Channel, but I'm caught up to where I stopped watching on Disney Channel, so I'll be watching those.
That's on my to-do list over the weekend. I want to watch an episode just so I'm aware of what it is, because there's been a lot of talk about it. So I'm looking forward to it. We watched a few episodes of the second season of Gordon Ramsay Uncharted.
How's that?
We really enjoyed it. There was one set in Africa, and he's like cooking, and he's got he's got like hippos coming up behind him, and he's terrified, and then he's meeting the chief. And then there was another episode where they're in the Vikings. So we kind of ended up watching season 2 first, but but me and my wife both enjoyed that one there. So we did 2 episodes back to back. So I think we're going to run through both of those seasons. I actually was telling my parents, I said, oh, that's a show to watch on there as well. And that was something. I also watched another episode or 2 of the Once Upon a Time. I'm just kind of slow. I kind of slowed down on that one there because it was a little bit like, it's with so many episodes, it's like it's probably going to take me years to get through Once Upon a Time with 7 seasons, and there were like 200 odd episodes of I enjoy it, but I find if I put too many episodes on back to back, they get a bit blurred together. So I'm kind of going to slow them down to 1 a week or something.
I remember it's not really good for binging because a lot of the episodes they have very slow storylines, so they can feel like they're not moving at times.
Yeah, and it's not quite like Monster of the Week either. It's kind of like, okay, this is just taking a long time to get here. If this was a streaming show, you'd have had to done it in half this time.
But this is one of those shows that we talk about occasionally, like the DC superhero shows or Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something like that, where you're like, if they could have written it at whatever episode length they needed to tell their story, it would have been an infinitely superior series. But no, we have to do 22 or 24 episodes because that's what the broadcast says. So pad, weird reset. Side story, reset. It's far longer than it needed to be. And I hope with streaming becoming more and more we move away from that
Well,
format.
it's like, I mean, I've said this before of like, for us over here in the UK, we get a lot of like mini series of like 3 episodes, 6 episodes, 8 episodes, and it's always kind of been something that we've had. So therefore, it was always like they never really stuck to the exact, maybe most seasons were only 6 episodes. So it was always very short and concise, and there was American stuff that was always very long-winded and just went on and on. But it does feel like now, like in some ways, America's caught up with that, and streaming's allowed that thing of, make better stories shorter rather than do it. And I also think as well, like it's helped bring in a lot more actors. It seems to have brought the bigger actors now are much more happy to do a short show than do a 24 season that takes 9 months of their life. It just, the amount of big players now in TV, you just never would have saw like 10, 15 years ago.
Well, I mean, even just in The Mandalorian, I wouldn't necessarily say like there are huge A-list actors, but you've got both in season 1 and season 2, some pretty solid talent that you wouldn't have seen a number of years ago because they'd be off doing bigger projects.
Yeah, I just like that whole aspect of these shorter TV series are giving us, I think, much better. I mean, like I said recently, one of the Hulu ones, little fires everywhere, like with Witherspoon and things like The Morning Show and things like that. You're seeing all these kind of things coming in. I also want to mention I've been continuing to watch The Long Way Up on Apple TV Plus. And why I bring this up is because obviously it's got Ewan McGregor in it. The amount of times that they've kind of, he has to use the fact that he's in Star Wars to get through borders, and the amount and all these people turn up for his photographs because they recognize him, and it's like I don't necessarily remember that so much from the first few, but there was one, and he's like, they're literally stuck at the Colombian border, and he's like, "Yeah, but no, you're gonna have to wait till tomorrow." And the guy goes, "Do you know he's from the guy out there? He's from Star Wars. So yeah, bring him in. We're getting through." And that kind of that whole thing, and I was like, "Oh yeah, that was quite cool." So it's been nice, kind of catching up on that on there. But yes, that's pretty much been what we've been watching this week. I think that's pretty much going to wrap up this week's show. We'll be back next week with another episode. Also, on the YouTube channel this week, we put up an interesting video that Josh recorded with his friend Gabriel. And they were talking about, like the new warnings that came up on the cultural warnings. And he's a historian. And so they kind of looked into that a little bit and had a good half an hour conversation. So if you're interested in that, check that one out. It was definitely an interesting thing to listen to. So I thought, yeah, he sent it over, and I'm going to we'll put that one up for everyone to watch. So that one's a bit of a nice bonus long piece of content this week that's gone up on the channel. But nevertheless, on that note, thank you very much for joining us, and we shall see you guys in another episode. Later.